Welcome to the final episode of Champion of the Cheap. This is the contest where we took all of the eShop games that were under 50 cents, mashed them up into a bracket, and had them compete week after week until only 2 games would emerge into the finals today. The 2 games that have emerged are going to be Jumping Joe and the game Membrane. But before we get to the finals with these 2 games, we're going to battle it out. Let's take a look at all the games that have fallen victim to the bracket over the last several weeks. Now on to the 2 games that survived. These 2 games are going to be competing upon 4 categories to see who can become the champion. The 4 categories are graphics, gameplay, story, and fun factor. The graphical style for each of these games is vastly different. Jumping Jack is extremely cartoony and very polished. All the characters have a very cutesy cutout look, and the atmospheres, while bare, fit the game perfectly. The characters and the enemies, they all have their individual charm, and it makes you want to explore the whole world and all of its inhabitants. Membrane's graphical style is very simplistic and focuses on creating a more of an artistic expression, which admittedly is a very cool effect. However, sometimes this can come off looking as if it was created in Microsoft Paint. Graphically, each game's look fits very well with the game concept. Membrane being very artistic looking because the game concept is very freeing, while Jumping Joe is more cartoony because the game is more focused on wacky fun. However, the graphics of Membrane is less appealing to look at in general, and it might turn some new players off. So therefore, Jumping Joe is going to take the graphics category. I like games that have at least somewhat of a story. Even if it's silly or wacky, I like to know that the characters have some motivation for what is happening. Jumping Joe literally has no story. We see tons of characters, but no background on any of them. And I understand, this game isn't played for the story. However, a funny backstory on wacky games can go so far. Think about games like Diddy Kong Racing, for example. This game didn't need a story, but it was so much better because of the wacky story. Membrane, on the other hand, it does give us a story to work with. Granted, I don't like the animations for the storytelling, but nevertheless, it's a story. It follows a fly and a man in his apartment, but quickly begins to take place inside of the man's body. It's not necessarily my favorite storyline, but it does give us some sort of background to work with. Membrane is going to emerge victorious on the story category. Each of these 2 games has very solid gameplay. Membrane allows for a choose-your-own-path mentality and executes this wonderfully. Each level you attempt to collect items to unlock the door to advance. To collect these items, you can shoot blocks up to create ladders or shoot them across to create bridges, and every player will collect these items differently, which adds a lot to the gameplay and replayability. There are occasions where when you're playing that the physics of how the bridge tower falls or how objects can move, they can get a little bit frustrating, and it almost begins to feel somewhat like older computer games did when they were like sort of glitching out. This happens fairly often, and it's generally the player's fault when it happens, but nevertheless, the physics of the game can make it a little bit frustrating. Jumping Joe, it is not an open game at all, but for a single path game, they also execute the play style perfectly. You can scale the level up using the left and right triggers to see how far you can go while avoiding all of the enemies. As you scale, you collect diamonds to unlock new modes and character upgrades, and these upgrades, they just really suck you into the game. This game also has a multiplayer, which gives the game a lot of replayability. You're never stuck in this game feeling like something happened unfairly and that the controls always respond to exactly how you want them to. For the gameplay, Jumpin' Joe is going to take the lead. Final category is going to be Fun Factor. Membrane is a slower game that allows you to think about puzzles and work your way through the levels at a pace of your choosing. This is fun, but it does require you to be sometimes willing to dedicate a fair amount of time to the game, especially in the later levels, and this can sometimes get tedious. Every time I play Membrane, I have a good time, but after about 30 minutes, I find myself tiring out a bit. Jumpin' Joe, you can pick this game up, play for 3 minutes or 2 hours, and you can expect a consistent level of fun throughout the whole time spent. When I first downloaded Jumpin' Joe, I literally spent over 2 hours just playing the game because I was having a blast. Jumpin' Joe also allows for several entertaining multiplayer sessions as you compete to finish the tower without dying. When it comes to just simply pure fun, Jumpin' Joe is gonna be the winner of this. We must choose one game to be the champion. The only truly fair way to pick a champion is to look back over our categories. Of these 4 categories, Jumpin' Joe won 3 out of the 4. This means that Jumpin' Joe is going to be the official champion of the cheap. It was a close run, honestly, and I hate not to pick Membrane, but Jumpin' Joe just created a wacky world that I absolutely loved. It controlled flawlessly, and most of all, it kept me having fun for hours. If you had not had a chance to download this game yet, I highly recommend adding it to your collection, and you'll be surprised about just how much fun you and your friends are going to have with it. Thank you all for watching my series of Champion of the Cheap. This wraps the series up, but there will be smaller future installments called Continuing the Cheap, where I will take the individual cheapest game at a time in the eShop, and I'll do a quick review of that. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. But thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please click that like button and also subscribe to the channel. I upload every Tuesday and Thursday and occasionally again throughout the week. Go out there, find a great game to play, and as always, have a great day.